Where is the price of Bitcoin heading? Are we near a bottom in Bitcoin right now? There's been a lot going on in the markets lately, a lot of speculation, a lot of people talking about the highs, the lows, the ups and the downs. Now, I am not a technician. I'm not a chartist, a technical analyst. I'm an investor. So my entire career, I've been an investor. What I do is I study and I learn from the best in the business that are charting the markets and the traders that are out there trading the market. I look at their charts, their analysis, and I take all that in. So I'm a specialist in my craft as an investor. So I take information from all sides, all angles. I look at everybody's charts, whether they're bulls, bears, whatever it is. I look at the best technical analysts out there, and I look at their charts and what they're saying and what they're seeing. I also listen to the best investors out there, the ones that are out there active in the markets doing what they do. Now this is regardless of what it is, real estate, business, stock markets, cryptocurrency, it doesn't matter. So as far as crypto goes, I look at all of the best information I can find from all of the experts out there, and then I take myself out of the situation, look at it from a 30,000 view, and make decisions based on the best analysis that you have at hand. So where's the price of Bitcoin going? Are we at a bottom? Did we reach the top? We don't know, and we won't know until we get to the other side of it. All you can do is look at where the trends are, and like I always say, you got to educate yourself. You got to lead the market up, lead the market down. If you're a long-term holder and you're holding long-term no matter what, whether it hits highs or lows and you're never going to sell, well then that's one strategy and that's fine. If you're a trader, then you got to trade the momentum. You got to trade up, you got to trade down, you got to limit your losses with stop limits, and you want to put your put your strike price orders in so that it buys at the price you're looking for, it sells before you lose. So you want to make sure that you put your limit orders in and your stop losses in when you're trading, so that, just like in stocks, you don't get burned, you don't get caught short, you don't get caught holding the bag if it turns around on you, if you're short in the market, going long, whatever it is. So at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to think about where you could be wrong. The best investors in the world are always asking, how am I wrong about this? Not why am I right, but how can I be wrong? So regardless of where you sit, whether you're a bull or a bear, if somebody says the market is going to the moon, and Bitcoin's going to go to $350,000, how does that make you feel? If you don't think it's possible, then you need to ask, how can it be possible? So, don't just dismiss it and say, well, that's not possible. There's just no way that's possible. You need to ask yourself, how can it be possible? And look at the fundamentals around what could make that a possibility. Could Bitcoin really reach 350,000? And if it could, well, what time frame are we talking about? 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? And when you think about a price point on an item like a Bitcoin, like an investment like Bitcoin, even at 100,000, then you need to ask yourself, would you be willing to pay 100,000? Right now, if Bitcoin were 100,000, would you be willing to pay 100,000 for it? So you need to think about where we came from. The market peaked at 65,000. Some of the top Bitcoin advocates out there were not buying Bitcoin at 65,000. Michael Saylor is one of the top Bitcoin pump and dumpers out there. He's a Bitcoin advocate. He's a Bitcoin, long-term Bitcoin maximalist. And he was not buying Bitcoin at 65,000. His basis is around the 20,000 range, plus or minus, like 22,000, something like that. And he'll buy Bitcoin occasionally. He bought some at the 50,000 range. He's bought some at the 40 and 30,000 range, but he did not buy in mass at 65. So if he was a real believer in Bitcoin, why didn't he buy all the Bitcoin he could buy at 65,000? So that tells you there's a limit that people are willing to pay. Now, as far as how low it can go, that's more about what's going on fundamentally in the markets, where the liquidity is coming and going to and from, and who are the ones that are in the market and what are they willing to pay. And then if you look at people like me, opportunistic investors, I'll get in and out and I'll trade some momentum, but I'm not going to buy in for the long haul until it's reached an absolute bottom, and I don't feel like we're there yet. I feel like for me, there's a level that it needs to get to before I'm all in, and I feel like we've hit bottom and we're ready to launch. I do the same thing with stocks, and I do the same thing with cryptocurrencies. I do the same thing with real estate. It's all about opportunities. So if somebody says Bitcoin's going to drop to $10,000 and that makes you mad and you get angry about it and you feel like that can never happen and you just dig your heels in the sand, you need to ask yourself, why are you doing that? Why do you feel that way about it? What's driving that emotion? And then you also have to ask, well, how can that happen? Is that possible? Is it possible for Bitcoin to go to $10,000? And if so, well, when? Could it happen in a week, a month, a year? So instead of saying it could never get to 350,000 or it could never get to 10,000, ask how can it? And if you find yourself getting angry about somebody else's analysis, then understand what's probably driving that is fear. And if fear is driving an emotional response in your investments, then you're not going to make the best investment decisions. So when it comes from a standpoint of an investment, you got to take yourself out of the equation. You have to be objective, you have to be non-emotional, and you have to look at the best in the business, the smartest people in the business, the people that have been analyzing charts, analyzing data, analyzing markets over decades, over years and decades, not just the last year or two or a couple of years, or took some classes and they know all the basic 5 fundamental moves that markets make and things like that. You need to look at people who have the instincts, and they look at more than just the charts. They look at the fundamental analysis around everything and the sentiment of the market. And then you need to look at the top investors in the world. What are they doing and what are they saying? And even more important than what are they saying, what are they actually doing? Because a lot of people will come out like a Michael Saylor, and he will say things like Bitcoin is the best investment you can make, you can never lose, and he believes in it 100%. Well, if that's the case, why didn't he buy all of the Bitcoin he could buy when it was at 65,000? So even Michael Saylor only believes in Bitcoin at a certain price. So you need to think about that. And everybody else who's bought Bitcoin at a high level like that, even Elon Musk, bought it at a certain price, then he sold some off to reduce his basis a little bit, and more than likely they're going to be selling more. He had to take the foot off the gas there for a little bit, just because, well, the foot off the electric accelerator, because of the pressure he was receiving. But remember, don't just listen to what they say, watch what they're actually doing, and be careful out there. Crypto is a new space. It's highly, it's completely unregulated. So people will take advantage of that. So there's nothing stopping high-level investors from working together to manipulate markets and make phone calls to each other. There's no regulation at all stopping a group of people of getting together and moving markets. And maybe that's what happened recently. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's more fundamental. We don't know, and we won't know until we get to the other side and see if this is a long-term trend and what's really happening. So remember, watch what people do, not what they say. Educate yourself. If you feel yourself getting emotional about things, generally that's a fear that's driving that emotion. So understand why that is, and then be prepared. So either way, you need to look at it objectively and have a plan and be prepared. If Bitcoin hits $10,000, can you handle that? Are you relying on Bitcoin for your living, for your future, to pay for college, this, that, and the other? And if that's the case, you need to plan for, well, what happens if it hits 10 grand and stays down there for a while? And then, again, if it goes the other way, if it starts going up to 100,000, then you need a plan for that. What are you going to do? Are you going to take profits? Are you going to sit there and just ride it out and let it go up and down, which, it does. Nothing goes up and up and up forever. It has its pullbacks. We don't know what the future of these cryptocurrencies are going to be. We don't know what the future of Bitcoin is going to be. We don't know that another Bitcoin's not going to come along tomorrow and replace it completely. So you got to be prepared for all of those things and be smart about it, and understand if you're betting your future on something, why is that? And what is the end result if that bet is wrong? So just be smart, be aware, be careful. There's a lot of scams out there, a lot of fake news out there. And, just educate yourself, understand, listen to all sides of the equation. I'm not saying it's going up through the moon. I'm not saying it's going down to all-time lows, but I am saying it's going to go up and down, because that's what it does. What goes up comes down. What goes down comes up in markets. Same thing in real estate, same thing in business. It's all about cycles, and it's all about, right now, the liquidity being pumped into the market, the easy finance, easy money. So it's fast moving. Stay ahead of it. Protect yourself. Put in your limits, put in your stops, be smart, be careful, and happy investing.